Your kind disgusts me. Another dirty criminal crawling out from that black skin. Officer Ryan Blake's words sliced through the parking lot as he drove Malcolm White's face into the pavement. The 16-year-old's cheekbone cracked. Blake's knee crushed his spine. I paid for this, Malcolm gasped. Blake twisted his arm. Sure you did. Lying's in your blood. Malcolm's receipts scattered in the wind. His MIT letter crumpled beneath Blake's boot. Blood pooled on asphalt. 20 people watched. Phones up. Nobody moved. Malcolm's phone buzzed. Dad calling. Then, everything stopped. Tires screamed. A vehicle skidded to a halt. Doors flew open. Multiple footsteps. Fast. Urgent. Blake looked up. His smirk died. Whatever he saw made his hand release Malcolm's neck. Made him stand. Made his face go white. Have you ever wondered what could make a cop look that terrified? Drop a comment. What's the wildest injustice you've seen? Stick around. This twist changes everything. 30 minutes earlier, Malcolm White was just a kid shopping for his sister's birthday. Riverside Mall buzzed with Saturday afternoon energy. Malcolm walked through the clothing store holding up a pink hoodie. He texted his mom a photo. Lily's gonna love this, right? His phone lit up with a reply from someone labeled NW. On my way, son. Be safe out there. Malcolm smiled and pocketed his phone. He grabbed the hoodie, added a matching scarf, and headed to checkout. The cashier, a young white woman named Amanda Fletcher, rang him up. That'll be $53, she said cheerfully. Malcolm handed over his debit card. The machine beeped. Transaction approved. Amanda printed the receipt and tucked it into the bag with the items. Your sister's lucky, Amanda said. These just came in yesterday. She's turning 13. Big day. Malcolm took the bag and turned to leave. That's when the alarm went off. Not in Amanda's store. 3 shops down at the electronics retailer. A shrill beep pierced the mall. Shoppers turned their heads. Security guard Brian Hughes spoke into his radio, voice urgent. We have a 10:15 at Tech Plaza. Male suspect fleeing toward the south exit. The dispatcher's voice crackled back. Description? Hughes squinted down the corridor. Black male, late teens, wearing a dark hoodie and backpack. That vague call, black male in a hoodie, echoed the Trayvon Martin case where assumptions turned deadly. Malcolm was 50 feet away, browsing a window display. He wore a navy hoodie. He carried a backpack. He had no idea he matched a description. Hughes spotted him. His eyes narrowed. Malcolm was the only black teenager visible in that section of the mall. I've got eyes on a possible suspect, Hughes said into his radio. Moving to intercept. Malcolm's phone buzzed again. Another text from NW. ETA 20 minutes, love you. Malcolm typed back, love you too, Dad. He never got to send it. Hughes was already moving, already calling it in, already making the worst assumption of his career. And Officer Ryan Blake was already in his patrol car 2 blocks away, lights starting to flash, accelerating toward the mall. Malcolm picked up his shopping bag and headed toward the exit. He had no idea what was about to happen. Bon dung, de trois viet day du 2102. Malcolm pushed through the mall's glass doors into the parking lot. Sunlight hit his face. He adjusted his backpack and checked his phone. His sister Lily had texted, Can't wait to see what you got me. He was typing a reply when he heard the voice. You! Stop right there! Malcolm looked up. Officer Ryan Blake was striding toward him, hand on his gun holster. His partner, Officer Jason Reed, followed a few steps behind. Malcolm froze. Me? Don't move. Blake closed the distance fast. Put your hands where I can see them. Malcolm's stomach dropped. He raised both hands slowly, phone in one, shopping bag in the other. Officer, I think there's been a mistake. I said don't move. Blake grabbed Malcolm's shoulder and spun him around. Empty your pockets, now. I just bought, now! Malcolm's hands shook as he complied. He pulled out his wallet, his keys, his phone. Blake snatched them, shoving Malcolm against a parked car. The metal was hot under Malcolm's palms. What's in the bag? A hoodie and a scarf. For my sister's birthday. I have the receipt right. Blake ripped the bag open. He pulled out the pink hoodie, inspected it like it was stolen goods, then tossed it on the ground. The scarf followed. He grabbed the receipt, glanced at it for maybe 2 seconds, then crumpled it in his fist and dropped it. Anyone can fake a receipt. Malcolm stared in disbelief. What? No, that's real. The store clerk can confirm. Sure she can. Blake's voice dripped with sarcasm. He turned to Reed. Check his ID. Reed picked up Malcolm's wallet, pulled out his driver's license and student ID. He studied them both carefully. Malcolm White, age 16, Riverside High School. Reed looked up. Blake, he's got an honor roll sticker on this. Blake didn't even glance at it. So? Honor roll kids steal too. A crowd was forming now, shoppers coming out of the mall drawn by the commotion. Phones started rising, at least 19 or 20 people watching, recording everything. Malcolm could feel every eye on him. His face burned with shame. I didn't steal anything. Please just check the security footage inside. You'll see. Turn around, Blake ordered. Sir, if you just... I said turn around. Blake grabbed Malcolm's arm and yanked him, slamming his chest against the car hood. The impact knocked the breath from his lungs. Hands behind your back! Malcolm obeyed. His heart hammered against his ribs. This wasn't real. This couldn't be happening. Not to him. Not for buying a birthday present. Mom's words rang in his head. Always come home safe, baby. Blake kicked Malcolm's feet apart. Spread your legs! Officer, I have done nothing wrong. Shut your mouth. Blake began patting him down, rough and aggressive, hands running down his sides, his legs, checking his waistband, his ankles, all of it visible to the growing crowd, all of it humiliating. Someone in the crowd muttered, Jesus, is that necessary? Blake ignored them. He pulled Malcolm's backpack off and unzipped it. Books spilled out onto the pavement, a calculus textbook, spine broken from use, a copy of The Souls of Black Folk for English class, a binder full of notes, a folder labeled MIT Application Materials. Blake picked up the folder, opened it. Inside was Malcolm's acceptance letter, the one his mom had cried over, the one that represented 4 years of straight A's, volunteer work, leadership positions. MIT, huh? Blake held it up, voice loud enough for everyone to hear. What'd you do, steal the acceptance letter too? A few people in the crowd laughed. Not many, but enough that Malcolm heard it. Enough to make his stomach twist. Malcolm's eyes stung. That's mine. I earned that. Sure you did. Blake tossed the folder aside like trash, pages scattered in the breeze. Malcolm watched his future blow across the parking lot. That's when Amanda Fletcher came running out of the mall. Officers! Officers, wait! She was breathless, waving her iPad. I'm the clerk from Style Avenue. I sold him that hoodie 10 minutes ago. Blake barely looked at her. Ma'am, step back, but I have the transaction record right here. Amanda thrust her iPad forward, showing the time-stamped receipt. Malcolm could see it from where he stood. Clear proof. See? Malcolm White, debit card ending in 3948, purchased at 2:43 p.m. That's him. I remember him because he was buying a gift for his sister. Reed stepped forward. Blake, maybe we should... We're following protocol. Blake cut him off. He turned to Amanda, voice harder now. Ma'am, this is police business. I need you to step back now. But he didn't steal anything. Amanda's voice rose with desperation. I literally just sold him those items. I can show you the store cameras. Step back. Blake's hand moved to his belt, to his weapon. Amanda hesitated, fear crossing her face. Then she retreated. But she didn't leave. She stood at the edge of the crowd, iPad clutched to her chest, shaking her head, tears forming in her eyes. Malcolm caught her eye. Thank you, he said quietly. Thank you for trying. She nodded, one tear spilling over. Blake's radio crackled. Unit 43, what's your status? Blake keyed his radio. Suspect detained. Requesting backup for transport. Backup en route. Be advised, dispatch report suspect may be armed. Malcolm's blood went cold. His whole body went numb. What? I'm not armed. I don't have a weapon. Blake's hand went to his gun. Get on the ground, now! I'm not armed! On the ground! Blake drew his weapon. The gun came out of its holster in one smooth motion. The crowd gasped. Several people screamed. Reed's hand went to his own gun, but he didn't draw it. His face showed clear discomfort. Malcolm dropped to his knees, hands raised high above his head. Please don't shoot, I'm not resisting. I don't have a weapon, please. Face down, hands behind your head. Malcolm lowered himself onto the asphalt. The concrete was hot against his cheek, rough. Tiny pieces of gravel pressed into his skin. He laced his fingers behind his head, trying not to shake. Mom's words again. Keep your hands visible. Say yes, sir. Come home safe. He was trying. God, he was trying. Blake holstered his gun and dropped his knee onto Malcolm's back. Hard, all his weight. The air rushed out of Malcolm's lungs. He couldn't expand his chest. "I can't breathe," Malcolm gasped. "Stop resisting!" Blake pressed down harder. "I'm not resisting!" Malcolm's voice came out strangled, desperate. "I can't breathe!" "Then stop talking!" Blake grabbed Malcolm's right arm, wrenched it back at an unnatural angle. Something in Malcolm's shoulder popped. Pain exploded down his arm. Voices erupted from the crowd. "He's a kid! Check the receipt! This is wrong!" A white mom whispered to her daughter, "This is messed up!" But the phone stayed up. 20 cameras recording, 0 people physically intervening. Malcolm's phone, lying on the ground near his head, started buzzing. The screen lit up. Dad calling. It rang and rang and rang. Nobody answered it. A second patrol car pulled up, lights flashing red and blue. Sergeant Kenneth Graham stepped out, along with 2 more officers. Graham walked over, taking in the scene. "What do we have?" Blake, still kneeling on Malcolm, said, "Suspect matching description from the electronics store theft. Detained him as he was leaving the mall." Graham looked down at Malcolm, then at the scattered shopping bags and papers. He picked up the crumpled receipt, smoothed it out, read it carefully. "This receipt's from today, time-stamped 20 minutes ago." "Could be forged," Blake said. Graham's eyebrows rose. "Forged in 20 minutes? It's possible." Graham crouched down, looked at Malcolm's face. Blood had started to trickle from Malcolm's nose. "Son, what's your name?" "Malcolm White," Malcolm managed to whisper. "I'm 16. I'm a student at Riverside High." Graham picked up Malcolm's student ID from the ground. He studied it carefully. "Honor roll? 4.0 GPA?" He looked at Blake. "You pat him down?" "Yes, sir. Clean. No weapons." "Any contraband in his bags? School books, papers, college stuff?" Graham stood up slowly. He looked at the crowd, at all the phones recording, every angle covered. He looked at Amanda Fletcher, still holding her iPad with trembling hands. Then he looked back at Malcolm, still pinned under Blake's knee. For a moment, the sergeant seemed to consider something. His face showed conflict. Malcolm felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this would end here, maybe. "Bring him in for questioning," Graham said. "Better safe than sorry." The hope died instantly. Blake hauled Malcolm to his feet. Malcolm's shoulder screamed in pain. His legs almost gave out. Blake steadied him roughly, then pulled out his handcuffs. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." The metal cuffs clicked around Malcolm's wrists. Cold, tight, too tight. Each click echoed in Malcolm's ears like a gunshot. The crowd's reactions split down the middle. Some shouted protests. "This is racial profiling. Let him call his parents. Check the security cameras first." Others stood silent, uncomfortable but unwilling to speak. A middle-aged white man near the back said quietly, "The officers are just doing their jobs. If the kid didn't do anything wrong, it'll get sorted out." A black woman next to him shook her head. "You don't understand. This is how it always goes." Arguments broke out. The crowd fractured into clusters of debate. Meanwhile, Malcolm stood in handcuffs, center stage in his own public humiliation. His phone buzzed again on the ground. Dad calling, still unanswered. Blake walked Malcolm toward the patrol car. Malcolm's mind raced. This couldn't be happening. He'd done everything right, everything his parents had drilled into him since he was old enough to understand. Keep your hands visible. Say yes, sir, no, sir. Don't make sudden moves. Stay calm. Be polite. He'd done all of it, and he was still in handcuffs. As they approached the car, Malcolm looked back one more time. The crowd stared, some faces sympathetic, some indifferent, some already turning away. Amanda Fletcher still stood there. She'd picked up his phone. The screen still showed Dad calling. Malcolm wanted to yell to her, to beg her to answer it, to tell his dad what was happening. But Blake's hand was on his head now, pushing him down. Blake opened the back door of the patrol car. He put his hand on Malcolm's head, pushing him down into the seat, not gently. The door slammed shut. The sound was final, absolute, like a cell door closing. Through the window, Malcolm could see everything he was leaving behind. The mall entrance where this nightmare started. The scattered papers from his MIT folder, some already blowing away. The pink hoodie crumpled on the ground, dirt-stained now. His sister's birthday present destroyed. Blake climbed into the driver's seat. Reed got in on the passenger side. The car smelled like sweat and old coffee. Reed looked back at Malcolm through the metal partition. "Kid," Reed said quietly, and Malcolm could hear genuine discomfort in his voice. "This'll get sorted out at the station. Just stay calm. Cooperate. It'll be okay." Malcolm didn't respond. What was there to say? He'd been calm. He'd been polite. He'd cooperated completely. And he was still being arrested. Reed turned back around, looking troubled. His jaw was tight, but he didn't say anything else. Didn't challenge Blake. Blake started the engine. The car rumbled to life. As the car pulled away from the curb, Malcolm watched through the rear window. Amanda Fletcher was still standing there, phone pressed to her ear now. She must have answered his dad's call. She was talking, gesturing. Good. At least someone would tell him. The crowd was dispersing, some still filming, probably already posting to social media, some shaking their heads, some already walking back into the mall. Just another Saturday at Riverside Mall. Malcolm closed his eyes. His shoulder throbbed with every heartbeat. His wrists ached from the too tight cuffs. His face still stung from the rough asphalt, but the physical pain wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the humiliation, the helplessness, the knowledge that he'd done everything his mother taught him, and it hadn't mattered. Always come home safe, baby. He'd tried, Mom. He'd really tried. The patrol car turned onto the main road. The mall disappeared behind them. Malcolm sat alone in the back seat, hands cuffed behind his back, shoulder aching, throat tight with unshed tears, and somewhere his dad was calling, again and again, unable to reach his son, not knowing that in 45 minutes he would see the security footage, would watch every second of his son's humiliation, would mobilize 10 FBI agents. But Malcolm didn't know that yet. All Malcolm knew was fear and the terrible certainty that his life had just changed forever. The Riverside police station smelled like burnt coffee and old paperwork. Blake walked Malcolm through the front entrance, hand gripping his arm. The handcuffs bit into Malcolm's wrists. Officer Nicole Harris looked up from the front desk. "Name?" "Malcolm White, but I need to call my parents." Blake cut him off. "Suspected retail theft, Riverside Mall. Run his record." Harris typed quickly. She frowned. "No priors, clean." Blake shrugged. "First time for everything." "I didn't steal anything." Malcolm's voice rose. "I showed you the receipt. Receipts can be forged, witnesses can lie. So can cops," Malcolm shot back. Blake's face darkened. He stepped closer. Sergeant Graham appeared. "That's enough. Blake, my office. Reed, process him." Reed unlocked the handcuffs. Malcolm's wrists were red and marked. He led Malcolm down a narrow hallway to a small holding room. 10 by 10 feet. Gray walls, metal table bolted to the floor, 2 chairs. A camera in the corner, red light blinking. "Sit tight," Reed said. "This'll get sorted out. When can I call my parents?" "Soon, I promise." The door closed. Malcolm was alone. He sat down slowly. His shoulder throbbed where Blake had twisted it. His cheek stung from the asphalt. But the physical pain wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the humiliation, the helplessness. He looked at the camera. "Is anyone watching this? I'm innocent. I didn't do anything wrong." Silence. Just the red light blinking. The clock read 4:51 p.m. His dad got off work at 5. Malcolm always texted when he was heading home. His family had no idea where he was. Outside, in the parking lot across the street, a black SUV idled, tinted windows, no markings. Inside, Agent Victoria Collins adjusted her earpiece. "We have visual. Subject is inside." Agent Stephen Phillips checked his tablet. "Director White's ETA is 8 minutes. He's watched the mall footage. All of it." "How bad?" "Bad. His kid got slammed face first into concrete, knee to the back, the whole thing." Collins's jaw tightened. "The officer?" "Blake. Same guy with 2 excessive force complaints last year, both dismissed." "Not this time." "What's the play?" "We wait for the director's signal. He wants to handle it personally first. If it escalates, we move in. 10 agents standing by." Inside the interrogation room, Malcolm stared at the walls. He thought about his mother's talk, the one she'd given him when he turned 13. "You're black in America. The rules are different. You're twice as likely to be stopped, 3 times as likely to be arrested, 10 times as likely to be hurt. So you be careful, you be polite, you come home safe." He'd been careful, he'd been polite, and he was still here. Malcolm looked at the camera again. "My name is Malcolm White. I'm 16. I'm a student at Riverside High. I have a 4.0 GPA. I got accepted to MIT. I bought a hoodie for my sister's birthday. That's all I did. His voice cracked. The door opened. Reed came back with a clipboard. Malcolm, we pulled the security footage from the mall. Malcolm jumped up. And? Reed hesitated. You weren't near the electronics store during the theft. You were in a completely different section. Relief flooded through him. So I can go? Well, Sergeant Graham wants to complete the full report first. Standard procedure. Malcolm couldn't believe it. Standard procedure? You just said I didn't do it. You have proof. I know, but then why am I still here? Reed shifted uncomfortably. Look, I'm on your side, but it's not my call. The sergeant needs to review everything, document it, then he'll release you. When? Maybe an hour? An hour! Malcolm slammed his hand on the table. I've been here almost an hour already. You just admitted I'm innocent. I understand you're frustrated. Frustrated? Malcolm laughed bitterly. I got thrown to the ground in front of 50 people. Your partner called me a criminal. He knelt on my back while I couldn't breathe. My MIT letter is scattered across a parking lot. And you want me to wait another hour? Reed looked pained. I'm sorry, just be patient. Please. He left. Malcolm stood shaking. He wanted to scream, to flip the table, but he couldn't. Because that would make him the angry black man they expected. That would end up on camera, used as evidence against him. So he sat back down, forced himself to breathe. In Graham's office, Blake stood at attention. This doesn't look good, Blake. We responded to a call, the description matched. Black male, hoodie, backpack. Graham looked up. Dude, that matches half the teenagers in this county. Blake bristled. I made a judgment call. Your judgment call is all over social media. Graham turned his monitor around. The screen showed multiple posts, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all showing Blake's knee on Malcolm's back, the crowd yelling, the scattered papers. Riverside Mall was trending. Justice for Malcolm had over 10,000 tweets. Blake's jaw tightened. So what? We did our job. Did we? Graham closed his laptop. The kid had a receipt. The clerk vouched for him. Security footage confirms his story, and you still brought him in. Better safe than sorry. Or better scared than accountable? Graham leaned forward. You drew your weapon on an unarmed teenager. Dispatch said he might be armed. Based on what? A security guard who pointed at the first black kid he saw? Blake's face reddened. I don't care what you appreciate. Graham stood. You know what this looks like? The optics are fine. Graham stared at him. Fine. I'm finishing this report, releasing the kid with an apology and hoping this doesn't become a lawsuit. Blake scoffed. The kid'll be fine, Sarge. Dude's got MIT. This'll just be his wild college story. Graham's voice went cold. Get out of my office. Sir, get out. Blake left. Graham sat alone, staring at his screen, at the video of Malcolm's face pressed against asphalt, at the boy's terrified eyes. Outside, Collins whispered into her earpiece. Director's en route. He's seen the body cam. It's damning. Phillips nodded. How long? 6 minutes. He's furious. Graham's phone rang. Sergeant Graham. He listened. His face changed. What? When? He glanced at the door. How many? A pause. Understood. I'll be right there. He hung up slowly. FBI in his lobby. Right now. For a shoplifting case? What the hell was going on? In the interrogation room, Malcolm had his head on the table. The metal was cold against his forehead. He was exhausted, so tired of fighting, so tired of proving himself. The clock ticked to 4:59 p.m. Outside, the SUV's doors opened. 10 figures in tactical gear stepped out, moving toward the entrance. Inside, Malcolm didn't move. He had no idea everything was about to change. No idea that FBI was about to become the most important acronym of his life. His door remained closed, but in the lobby, the front doors were opening, and what happened next would flip everything upside down. The front doors burst open. 10 agents in Navy FBI windbreakers flooded the lobby. Tactical gear, weapons visible. Officer Harris stood. Can I help you? Agent Victoria Collins stepped forward. FBI, we're here for Malcolm White. Harris blinked. On what grounds? We don't need grounds. Where is he? Sergeant Graham rushed out. What's going on? Collins showed her badge. Special Agent Collins, FBI. This facility is under federal observation. Where is Malcolm Alexander White? He's a suspect in a shoplifting case. He's not a suspect. He's a minor under federal protection. You're holding him illegally. Blake stepped forward. Federal protection? For a shoplifter? Collins locked eyes with him. You're Officer Blake, correct? Yes, ma'am. We'll talk. But first, where is Malcolm White? Graham swallowed. Holding room, North Corridor. Collins signaled 2 agents. Phillips, Stewart, get him. They moved immediately. Blake tried again. This is local jurisdiction. Was, Collins corrected. When you detained a minor without cause and denied him counsel, this became federal. Your jurisdiction ended. She pulled out a tablet. This is mall footage. Want to watch? The video played, Blake slamming Malcolm down, knee on his back, Malcolm gasping, the ignored receipt, Amanda dismissed, MIT papers scattering, Graham went pale, Blake went red. We responded to a call. You racially profiled. Collins cut him off. The suspect was white, 20s. Your description was black male, hoodie, backpack. That's 40% of teenagers. You chose Malcolm because of his skin. Down the hall, agents opened Malcolm's door. Malcolm White? He nodded, terrified. Agent Phillips showed his badge. FBI, you're safe. Come with us. What's happening? You're not in trouble. We're getting you out. They led him to the lobby. Malcolm froze when he saw it. 10 federal agents. Graham looking pale. Blake looking scared. Collins turned. Malcolm, are you injured? He touched his cheek, my shoulder, my face. But I'm okay. Did anyone deny you a phone call or counsel? Malcolm glanced at Blake. Yes, multiple times. Collins made a note, eyes never leaving Blake. Blake stepped forward. Wait. Collins held up a hand. Officer Blake, speak to your union rep. Everything you say is being recorded for federal investigation. Blake shut his mouth. The front doors opened. Everyone turned. A man walked in. Late 40s, black, 6 feet tall, dark suit, FBI badge on his belt. But the way the other agents straightened, the way Collins stepped aside. This was someone senior. The man's eyes swept the room and locked onto Malcolm. Malcolm stared. Something was familiar. The jaw, the way he stood. The, Dad? Barely a whisper. The room gasped. The man crossed the lobby in 3 strides, hands on Malcolm's shoulders, scanning for injuries. Are you okay? Did they hurt you? Malcolm couldn't speak. The man hugged him tight, quick but fierce, then turned to face the room. His voice changed, commanding. I'm Director Nathan White, FBI Regional Bureau. Pause. And this is my son. Complete silence. Malcolm's mind spun. Director. His dad worked in federal administration. He'd never asked details. Nathan kept his hand on Malcolm's shoulder. 48 minutes ago, my son's phone stopped moving. I have a tracking app, standard for federal agents' families. When I saw his location at this station, I pulled the mall footage myself. He looked at Blake. I watched everything. The stop, the search, the force. The denial of rights. His voice was controlled but furious underneath. My son was buying a birthday gift, had a receipt, a witness, did nothing wrong. Yet he was thrown down, handcuffed, detained. Graham tried to speak. Director White, we responded to a theft. You racially profiled a teenager. Nathan pulled out his tablet. Original dispatch, black male, late teens, dark hoodie, backpack. That's meaningless. Guard Hughes pointed at my son because Malcolm was the only black teenager visible. He swiped screens. Here's the actual suspect. White male, early 20s, red hoodie, no backpack, left 6 minutes before Malcolm was approached. He showed them. Malcolm was 50 yards from the theft. Different store. With receipt. With witness. Blake didn't care. He saw a black teenager and assumed guilt. Blake went white. Nathan turned to Malcolm, voice softer. Son, for the record, did Blake read your rights before detaining you? Not until he was handcuffing me. After he'd already searched me and thrown me down? Did he ask consent to search? No. Did you request a phone call? Multiple times. He said I'd get one at the station. I never did. Nathan nodded. Agent Collins, play the full footage. Collins connected to the wall TV. The video played everything. Malcolm shopping, smiling, paying. Amanda giving the receipt. Malcolm walking out, unaware. Blake approaching with immediate aggression. No questions. Just assumption. Malcolm raising hands, trying to explain. Blake grabbing him, slamming him. The rough search. Scattered books. The MIT folder. Blake mocking it. Crowd laughing. Amanda running out with her iPad. Blake dismissing her, Blake drawing his weapon, Malcolm on his knees, hands high, Blake forcing him face down, Blake's knee on his back. I can't breathe. Stop resisting. Malcolm wasn't moving, wasn't resisting. The knee stayed for 43 more seconds. The video ended. Silence. Some officers looked away. Some looked disturbed. Nathan let the silence sit, then spoke. Sergeant Graham, I watched my 16-year-old son get brutalized. Honor roll student, MIT bound, never had a detention. I watched him plead innocence while evidence was at his feet, ignored. I watched him be denied his rights, and I watched 50 people film it instead of help because they feared police. His voice hardened. This isn't bad policing. This is federal civil rights violation. It ends today. Graham's voice was weak. Director White, we were trying to do our jobs. Serve and protect who? You saw a black teenager and saw a threat. That's all it took. Nathan turned to Collins. I want statements from every officer involved. Body camera footage, dispatch recordings, mall footage preserved, everything. Official federal investigation. Yes, sir. Nathan turned to Blake, looked him in the eye. Officer Blake, you put your knee on my son's back while he begged for air. You mocked his achievements. You denied him a phone call. You drew your weapon on an unarmed teenager with a shopping bag and receipt. You violated his 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendment rights. Pause. Anything to say? Blake's mouth opened. I was following training. Your training taught you to racially profile minors? No, to ignore physical evidence. The description, Nathan's voice rose. Black male in a hoodie is not a description. It's a stereotype. You used it to justify assaulting my son. He addressed the room. This incident is under federal investigation. Officer Blake, you're suspended. Badge and weapon. Now. Blake looked at Graham. Graham looked at the floor. Now, Nathan repeated. Blake's hands shook. He removed his badge, set it on the desk, then his weapon, magazine out. Chamber cleared on the desk. The sound echoed. Nathan turned to Malcolm. Expression softened. Father returned. Let's get you out of here. Malcolm nodded, unable to speak. They walked to the exit. Nathan's hand on Malcolm's shoulder. Protective. At the door, Nathan paused, looked back. This doesn't end here. There will be accountability, real accountability, not just for Blake, but for every system that allowed this. Count on it. He and Malcolm walked out. The doors closed. Inside, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Blake stared at his badge on the desk, his career ending before his eyes. Outside the station, Malcolm stood next to his father's car, shaking. Nathan kept his hand on Malcolm's shoulder. You're safe now. We're going to handle this. Dad, I didn't. I know. You did nothing wrong. Malcolm felt tears coming. He couldn't hold them back. Nathan pulled him into a hug. Let it out. Malcolm cried into his father's shoulder. All the fear, the humiliation, the anger poured out. After a moment, Nathan pulled back. Here's what happens next. We make sure this means something. Not just for you, but for every kid who doesn't have an FBI director for a father. What do you mean? You'll see. Come on. They walked back toward the station. Malcolm hesitated. I don't want to go back. You don't have to go in, but watch. Inside, FBI agents were everywhere, taking statements, reviewing footage, documenting everything. Nathan spoke to Collins. Status? All evidence secured. Body cameras, dispatch recordings, witness statements. Good. Bring them in. 5 minutes later, the doors opened. Amanda Fletcher walked in, eyes red. Mrs. Dorothy Preston followed, head high. Behind them, security guard Brian Hughes looked terrified. Nathan addressed the room. Thank you for coming. What happened today was wrong. What happens next is up to all of us. He gestured to the TV. Watch this. The screen showed the complete sequence, but this time, it started earlier. The actual theft at Techmart. A white male, 20s, red hoodie, shoving electronics into a bag, face clear on camera, then Hughes on his radio, eyes scanning them all, passing over white teenagers, Asian teenagers, Hispanic teenagers, landing on Malcolm, the only black teenager visible. The video continued. Multiple angles, from above, from the side, from witnesses' phones. Devastating. When it ended, Nathan turned to Hughes. Mr. Hughes, you're not a police officer, so I can't suspend you. But I can do something else. He pulled out his phone, made a call on speaker. Mr. Delgado? Director Nathan White, FBI. I'm calling about your security contract at Riverside Mall. Director White, I saw the news. I'm so sorry. Mr. Hughes is here. The guard who identified my son based solely on skin color. He told police he had no formal training, just instinct. Silence. I need mandatory training for every guard you employ. Implicit bias, constitutional rights, de-escalation, quarterly, not one time. The FBI will help set it up. Yes, sir, absolutely. And Mr. Hughes, he's your first trainee. He completes a restorative justice program. Then he can teach other guards what not to do. Nathan looked at Hughes. Sound fair? Hughes nodded frantically. Yes, sir. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to my son. Hughes turned to Malcolm, tears streaming. I'm sorry, I didn't think. I just assumed... You assumed I was a criminal, Malcolm said quietly, because of my skin. Yes, and I was wrong. Do you understand what your assumption caused? Hughes nodded. I do now. Then do better. Learn better. Be better. Nathan turned to Amanda. Miss Fletcher, you tried to help. You had evidence. They dismissed you. Would you speak at a community meeting next week? Tell your story? Amanda straightened. Yes, absolutely. Nathan turned to Mrs. Preston. You spoke up. You told the truth. Mrs. Preston's voice was strong. I've lived here 40 years. I've seen this happen over and over. I'm tired of staying quiet. Then don't. Your voices matter. He turned to the officers. Blake stood there looking at the floor. Reed nearby, uncomfortable. Sergeant Graham, here's what happens. The FBI launches a full investigation. Non-negotiable. But things can also happen now. Today. Graham nodded. What do you need? First, Blake is suspended pending investigation. Done. Second, mandatory training for every officer. Implicit bias. Constitutional rights. De-escalation. We can do that. Third, community oversight board. Real oversight. Real disciplinary power. And I want Officer Reed on it. Reed looked up, shocked. Me? You knew something was wrong today. I saw it on your face, but you didn't stop it. Now's your chance to do better. Reed swallowed. Yes, sir. I want that. Fourth, body cameras for every officer. Footage automatically uploaded, public accessible. We can do that. And fifth, Nathan looked at Blake. You complete a restorative justice program. If you do the work, you get a chance to make something good from this. Work with youth programs. Teach officers what not to do. Blake looked up, eyes red. Why would you give me that chance? Because my son deserves a world where police do better. That starts with you choosing to be better. Blake's voice cracked. I'm sorry. Nathan's voice was cold. Don't tell me, tell him. Blake turned to Malcolm. I was wrong. I let my assumptions control me. I saw your skin instead of seeing you. I'm sorry. Malcolm didn't respond immediately. He looked at his father, then back at Blake. I'm 16 years old, Malcolm said. Honor student. Going to MIT. I volunteer at a food bank. I coach Little League. Never been in trouble. Never had detention. His voice got stronger. But none of that mattered to you. You saw black and you saw criminal. That's it. That's all I was. Blake's face crumpled. So yeah, Malcolm continued. You should be sorry. You should do the program. You should learn. Because what you did to me, you've probably done to others, and they didn't have an FBI director for a father. Silence. Malcolm looked at all the officers. My dad can make changes here, but you all have to choose to be different. Every day, every stop, every interaction, or nothing changes. Nathan squeezed Malcolm's shoulder, pride in his eyes. My son is right, Nathan said. This ends today. The excuses end, the assumptions end, the violations end, because if they don't, I'll be back, and next time it won't be a conversation. He looked at Collins. File the formal complaint, full investigation, weekly updates. Yes, sir. Nathan turned to Malcolm. Ready to go home? Malcolm nodded. As they walked out, Nathan called back. Officer Blake, you've got a choice. Let this destroy you or let it rebuild you. Choose wisely. They left. In the station, silence hung heavy. Then Reed spoke. I'll do it. The oversight board, the training, all of it. I want to help fix this. Graham nodded slowly. Then let's start. Blake stood alone, staring at his badge on the desk. For the first time in his career, he understood what he'd really done, what he'd taken from that teenager, and what it was going to cost him. 2 weeks later, Riverside Community Center was packed. Over 160 people filled every seat. More stood along the walls. Local news cameras lined the back. On stage sat Nathan White, Sergeant Graham, Mayor Elizabeth Crawford, and Malcolm. Malcolm's shoulder had healed. The scrape on his face had faded. but the memory hadn't. Mayor Crawford stepped to the podium. 2 weeks ago, something happened that we can't ignore. We have to face it. We have to fix it. She gestured to Nathan. Director White has been working with us on real change. Not just words, action. Nathan stood. 2 weeks ago, my son was racially profiled, assaulted, and illegally detained. If I hadn't been who I am, this story would have ended very differently. He paused. Justice shouldn't depend on who your father is. It should be a right for everyone. Applause filled the room. Here's what we're doing, Nathan continued. Mandatory implicit bias training for all police and security. Quarterly, not one time. The FBI is providing the curriculum. Community Oversight Board with real disciplinary power. Officer Jason Reed will chair it. Reed stood from the audience. People clapped. Some looked skeptical. Body cameras for every officer. Footage uploaded automatically. Accessible by public request within 72 hours. The applause grew louder. Partnership between Riverside PD and the FBI to create a model de-escalation program. Nathan looked out at the crowd. These aren't suggestions, they're requirements. They start now. He sat. Graham stood, approaching the podium. On behalf of Riverside Police, Graham said, I apologize to Malcolm White and this community. We failed. We're supposed to protect everyone equally. We didn't. His voice was heavy. Officer Blake has resigned. He's enrolled in a restorative justice program. If he completes it, he'll work with youth programs. But that's not enough. The system failed. We're fixing it. Graham sat. Mayor Crawford returned. Malcolm, would you like to say anything? Malcolm stood. His legs felt weak. He approached the microphone. The room went silent. He didn't have notes. Didn't need them. I was just shopping, Malcolm began. His voice was quiet but steady. But they saw a threat. He looked around the room. Don't let that be your kid's story. Speak up like Miss Fletcher did. That was it. 6 seconds, 21 words, but the room exploded. Standing ovation. The simplicity hit harder than any long speech could. Amanda Fletcher in the third row wiped her eyes. Mrs. Preston stood, fist raised. Mayor Crawford returned to the mic. There's something else you should know. Malcolm's story has gone viral. #Justice for Malcolm is now a TikTok trend. Over 2 million videos of parents having the talk with their kids. Black parents teaching their children how to survive police encounters. White parents finally understanding why that talk is necessary. The room buzzed. People pulled out their phones, searching the hashtag. This conversation is happening in living rooms across America, Crawford continued. Because of what happened here. Because Malcolm spoke up. Because Miss Fletcher spoke up. Because all of you are speaking up. After the meeting, people lined up to thank Malcolm, to share their stories. Then Officer Reed approached. Malcolm, Reed said quietly, I want to apologize personally. I should have done more that day. I knew it was wrong, but I didn't stop it. Malcolm looked at him. You were uncomfortable, I could see it. But uncomfortable isn't the same as doing something. Reed nodded. I know. That's why I'm on the oversight board. I want to make sure this never happens again. He extended his hand. Malcolm looked at it, looked at his father. Nathan gave a small nod. Malcolm shook Reed's hand. Then let's work together, Malcolm said. Reed's eyes were wet. Thank you. I won't let you down. As Reed walked away, Nathan put his arm around Malcolm. I'm proud of you, Nathan said. For what? For shaking his hand. That took courage. Malcolm watched Reed talking to community members. He seemed like he meant it. Maybe he did. Maybe he won't follow through. But you gave him the chance. That's what matters. Across the room, a teenage girl approached. She was filming on her phone. Malcolm, I'm doing the TikTok challenge. Can I ask, what would you tell other kids who look like you? Malcolm thought for a moment, then looked directly at her camera. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't belong. You do. And when they try to make you small, stand tall anyway. The girl smiled, tears in her eyes. Thank you. She walked away, already posting the video. Nathan squeezed Malcolm's shoulder. That's going to get 1 million views. Good, Malcolm said. Maybe it'll help someone. This is what transformation looks like. Not perfection, progress, not revenge, restoration. One choice at a time, one person at a time, one viral video at a time. 3 months later. Malcolm stood in his MIT dorm room unpacking boxes. He pulled out the navy hoodie, The same one from that day. He'd washed it, kept it. His roommate walked in. "Nice hoodie. Where'd you get it?" Malcolm smiled. "Long story. Remind me to tell you about the day I learned the difference between power and justice." Officer Blake completed his restorative justice program. Now he speaks at police academies about implicit bias, his own story, his own shame, his own growth. Officer Reed chairs Riverside's oversight board. Real change is happening, slowly but happening. The mall's new security protocol has been adopted by 19 shopping centers nationwide. One moment of injustice became a catalyst for systemic change. So here's the question. Have you ever witnessed power crumble in the face of truth? Justice shouldn't depend on who your father is. It should be a right for everyone. If this story moved you, hit subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment. What's one action you'll take to stand up against injustice? Because change doesn't start with luck. It starts with us.